show starts in 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go.
You're listening to the House of Cards on Facebook, YouTube, and BigPatriotRadio.com. All licenses for music and content have been purchased by and are for the express use of the Big Patriot Radio networks. All information, opinions, and topics are for entertainment purposes and do not expressly represent the opinions of the show's host and or producer. Sit back, relax, and enjoy. And good evening, everybody. Good evening. You are listening to and watching the Beaufort County's House of Cards. We are glad to have you here. My name is Mike Covert. I'm your host and producer. We are coming to you live from the Big Patriot Radio studios here in the great state of South Carolina. It is the 14th of August already. I thought I just said May like a week ago or something. Already August, halfway done. Football season is here, right around the corner. Welcome everybody watching on Facebook, YouTube, and to those folks listening around the world on BigPatriotRadio.com. Last week I failed to hit the simulcast button, so for the first 10 minutes of the show they were in the dark. But hey, we want to thank all those folks that have been here with us since day one, and thank you to those folks who are first time coming by. Glad to have you with us, and please join us again every Thursday night right here at 7 o'clock. Don't forget, we have other podcasts on the network on Saturday evenings at 7 o'clock. It is Ann Ubellis, and she is the Radio Chickadee and Southern Sense Radio podcast. Sundays is Andrew Southwick and the Culture Crossroads. And then Monday nights, the New America Movement with David and Jordan Cox from the upstate of South Carolina. All right, let's see. What else do we have here? Last week, the number one song on Big Patriot Radio was a bar song by Shabuzi. Bluffton, South Carolina, Moncks Corner. They were tied for the number one listening cities last week. Beaufort, Hilton Head, and Statesboro, Georgia, rounding out the top five. Big numbers from especially Berkeley County and Beaufort County. I believe that was probably because of our guest, and that was Congresswoman and gubernatorial candidate Nancy Mace.
Introducing to you.
You're on House of Cards, live on Facebook and YouTube.
It's going down.
Locked and loaded with the truth.
We have a new advertiser on board with us. Want to welcome the folks at skipsthefuskytees.us. No, not .com, not .net. It's skipsthefuskytees.us. There's his logo right there. We're keeping him up in the upper corner of the entire show. Check them out, skipsthefuskytees.us. They are all over BigPatriotRadio.com. Check them out. They have an incredible selection of T-shirts, available for you, all sizes. And the theme of them all is kind of like Americana, I'll call it. There's U.S. military, Trump 45-47. There's GOP. There's taking some shots at Iran. No pun intended. There's shirts with really cool pictures of folks from the cabinet, like Pete Hegseth and Kristi Noem. The B-2 stealth bomber. They have shirts with that. All American. skipsthefuskytees.us, and they're made in America right here on Defusky Island. And the best part of all, the owners of skipsthefuskytees.us is pledging to send 80% of their profits off of these shirts into the Win Red, which is a campaign funding group, I guess you would call it that, for conservative tickets from the top of the ticket all the way down. And it depends how you look at that. But in the proverbial, from the White House, right on down, they are putting their money where their mouth is. And 80% of the profits, skipsthefuskytees.us. Go check them out. Now we have a great show tonight. And we're going to jump right in here to everything. Don't forget, all of you there in the chat, please comment and let us know, what's on your mind, what's going on. You agree, disagree, have a question, have a comment, whatever. We'd like to hear from you.
Let's go!
The station that keeps it rocking 24/7.
Ladies and gentlemen,
BigPatriotRadio.com.
So last week, as I mentioned, we had U.S. Congresswoman and gubernatorial candidate Nancy Mace live right here on the show. And we're working with the teams trying to get this ball rolling. Ralph Norman, Josh Kimbrell, Lieutenant Governor Pamela Yvette, to get them on sometime here in the near future as well. Obviously, time is not of the essence, but we want to give everybody their fair share. Speaking of the race that's out there, if you get a hold of it, go on YouTube and search. I think his name is Mullins McLeod or Mullins McLeod. He's an attorney in Charleston. Announced that he's running for the Democratic ticket. I believe it's governor. He got arrested, and just search for the video, Mullins McLeod arrest. And it's not made up. It's for real. I got a feeling after you watch that, you'll probably agree. He needs to probably take care of things before he goes running for public office again. Anyway, big show tonight. We're going to talk to Eric Greenway, former county administrator here in Beaufort County. What else are we going to do? We're going to give you the final details. We've been promising this for a while. The final details of the Beaufort County Economic Development Corporation. That story, we're going to give you the final deal with that. We're going to pass along our information that we have corroborated and some info that was corroborated just today that we have. It was corroborated by the Island Packet as well, ironically. We're also going to give you some details on what many have called a major F-up in the city of Beaufort, with what they did with some FOIA documents. But first, let's see. Let's roll down here and move a couple of things over. I do want to welcome to the show. Let's see if I've got everything here. He is the former county administrator in Beaufort County. Please join me in welcoming Eric Greenway to the show. Hey, Eric, how are you?
Hey, good evening, Mike. How are you doing?
I'm doing well. How is everything in your neck of the woods?
Everything's going well. Very busy, very hot, but it's going well.
Do you have any need for rainfall?
There is an absolute need, or not a need. We need a break from all the rainfall, particularly in the Hilton Head area.
Yeah,
that place is floating away down there.
It's been rough, man. I tell you, I get the grass cut and just so I can cut it again, but this rain is really making it grow like weeds, so to speak. No pun intended. Yep. It's good to see you, buddy. We haven't talked in a while. You've been on the show before. I'm sure most people that watch this week in and week out. Before we get into some questions that I wanted to run by you, for the viewers' benefit, in case they aren't familiar, could you explain in a Reader's Digest version what's been going on prior to having the contract ended and then subsequent accusations? And I'll get into the specifics in a minute, but just bring everybody up to speed.
Yeah, sure. So around 1st of July, 2023, I was informed that an investigation had commenced by SLED into some activities with me. I do not know what the investigation surrounds or what it entails. Shortly after that, toward the end of July, the county council put me on leave and decided that they would conduct their own investigation into some financial matters for a period that covered from 2019 to 2023. I was not county administrator until I was named acting county administrator in October 2020. So that period did not cover my full tenure. A little bit before that. So the council did that. About a week later, or a few days after they put me on leave, they terminated my contract. I think that was July 28th, 2023. Shortly after that, an article appeared in Fitz News from an employee that I had dated a few times, accusing me of harassing her. That harassment was not true. Those allegations were investigated by two different attorneys, the Beaufort County attorney, the outside Beaufort County attorney for labor, and then a third-party attorney, and they all came back and said that what I did in sending a text after we had all gone to dinner one Saturday evening did not constitute harassment. But the lady felt the need to go public with that after she was terminated by the acting county administrator that replaced me. Shortly after that occurred, two ethics complaints were filed against me by a person by the name of Kimberly Morgan. I do not know this lady. I've never met her. To my knowledge, she does not know me. But those ethics complaints surrounded an allegation that I had hired my daughter, who at the time I asked her to do some modifications to the county seal and emblem while she was a graphic design, graphics art major at Charleston Southern University. And a second allegation came a few weeks later that I had taken a lot of expensive dinners, gone on expensive hunting trips with two developers in Beaufort County. So the investigation was SLED, and the two ethics violations have been pretty much, surrounding me for the last couple of years. Or the two ethics complaints, not violations.
Gotcha. And now separating the two, any legal thing going on with the county, that I'm sure that something is still going on. So I don't want to get into that, but that is still going on, right?
That's correct. Yes, as far as I know. I mean,
Okay.
it's been 2 years. You would think that if there was anything there, that would be wrapped up by now. So I don't,
Well, that goes not only in your case, but I mean, we've got people sitting in jail that have been in there for years, accused of murder,
right,
double murder, and they haven't gone to trial yet. So, I mean, I don't know what that's all about. I have some hunches, and maybe we'll get involved in that. But let's go to your ethics complaints, and there were two, right?
Yes.
So, have they both been withdrawn or expunged, or explain that?
Yes, from what I can tell right now, we've filed some FOIA requests with Beaufort County, but in typical Beaufort County fashion, they have failed to comply with their own FOIA laws in getting the documents to us. But we understand that in the course of investigating some other ethics complaints filed against other employees, one of those employees decided to fight their claim and started requesting depositions and subpoenaing people. So once Miss Morgan, as I understand it, received knowledge that she could be deposed and have to testify to these allegations that she's been making against various employees, she sent some emails to the Ethics Commission and to the Beaufort County Council saying that she had no firsthand knowledge of the complaints when she filed them, and she requested that the Ethics Commission withdraw her complaints as a result of that information. That's the story as I understand it currently. Again, I'll know more details once we receive the FOIA information on the emails that were sent to the Beaufort County Council. But recently, and I think you have a copy of it, I received an email from the director of the State Ethics Commission, who sent a letter to my attorney saying that Miss Morgan had requested to withdraw her complaints against me, and that my investigations were over as far as the ethics violations were concerned. So those are behind me now.
And again, those two, the two accusatory or the allegations rather were hiring. I guess that would be nepotism. I'm assuming.
Right.
And the other was, I guess, malfeasance or misfeasance of public money in a nutshell.
Well, no, they were saying I was taking gifts from developers by going on expensed hunting trips and going to dinner with developers in the county, which is, all of those allegations were untrue. They could have been solved in a matter of a few weeks, particularly the one about hiring my daughter. All they had to do is contact the finance department and say, hey, did Eric Greenway ever cut a check to his daughter? I think the amount that they said I paid her was like $150,000.
Good Lord.
Yeah, just for redrawing a emblem. And again, Kimberly Morgan would have had no way of knowing any of that unless some employees on the inside crafted those falsehoods and communicated that information to her.
Now, you mentioned that twice tonight, and I know in our previous conversations over the last, it is 2 years now.
Yes.
Wow. I've heard the comment of possible, if either current or former employee or employees having an axe to grind. Can you explain? Are you aware of any of that? Not hearsay, but are you aware of any of that? And what could you explain that?
Yeah, I think there's a few things that occurred around the time of my dismissal that led to my dismissal, and allegations surrounding that, and some events prior to that caused these employees to be disgruntled. Three of those events were: one, the animal control director made it very clear in an email, because when Phil Foote, her boss, had retired from the county, we got word during Phil's retirement party that the city of Beaufort was about to announce that I had hired John Robinson, the deputy fire chief, as Phil's replacement. So I went and quickly sent out an email to the county council, because you do not want the county council to hear that kind of news from a media outlet without them knowing it. So that person got upset that I sent out that information and press release that we had hired John Robinson during Mr. Foote's retirement party. Hey, I think a lot of Phil Foote, he should have been given the job over me. For all intents and purposes, I have deep love for him as an individual. He was a mentor. Even when I was county administrator, handled himself very well. So it was no disrespect to him in that regard, but that upset the person. The other situation that I can think of that this same person was upset about is during the last primary, whenever the Sheriff Tanner was running for sheriff against JoJo. This person wanted to put some spots on the county channel about the Beaufort County Animal Adoption Program. And they wanted to use some high-level people in Beaufort County to do those promotions. And this director wanted Sheriff Tanner to be the leadoff person on the county channel. And I said, I'm not going to allow that, because this is primary season. We're not, Sheriff Tanner can do it anytime he wants to, but not during primary, because we might be accused of giving him free airtime on the county channel during election season to promote his election. So I think that was one of the situations. Of course, another situation was an employee that was in the finance department, didn't like the fact that I refused to give him a raise because he completed the budget. That was his job every year, was to complete the budget. So you don't get a raise for meeting the requirements of your job description unless, other county employees or merit is involved. You don't just give somebody a bump up in their position for that. And then also he has to be let out of a requirement of becoming a certified person in finance. I forget the acronym now because it's been 2 years. But he did not do that in the allotted time, and he asked us to release him from that requirement, and we refused to do so. So, you know, anytime you do those sorts of things, you open yourself up for this type of allegation and things. So I think that's where the complaints came from.
But those at least the final the last two things. I mean, that is part of the job of the county administrator, is it not?
Yeah, that is right. Yeah,
I
exactly.
mean,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
Yeah, that's so we know we know what the allegations were. We and just so because somebody sent me a message and I want to make sure that I'm totally clear. You did say, you are saying that you did not give your daughter $150,000 check or whatever to design a new logo, and
No.
that one just shocks me. And the other one, you had no, that was not you weren't involved in that.
That's correct. That's right. So, I mean, I can go into more details about those if the viewers want to hear that. The situation with the county logo. If you look at the county logo, there's wording around the square, and that those letters do not line up.
No,
Correct.
Yeah.
So the county attorney at the time, Tom Cavaney, he was like, "Hey, he was like, we need to do something." He said, "These lettering around this border always has bothered me. Is there anything we can do about it?" And I said, "Well, my daughter's a graphic design major at CSU. I'll see if she can take a shot at, you know, kind of cleaning it up, just to give her something to put in her portfolio of things to do." She was not going to be paid for any of that work. So I reached out to my daughter, and she told me yes, if I would get her, and I know nothing about this sort of stuff. I think she called it a vector file on the county logo. So I reached out to Patrick Hill, who was in the over the IT and communications department. He said, "Hey, that's a great idea. If she can clean that up, that would be great." He sent the vector file. I sent to her. She did 4 versions of the county logo, sent them to me. Again, no payment was ever made. I was just helping her do that to get some experience on that. We would have had to go through the county council process to get those emblems adopted and all that, but we never did get around to that because of the situation. The thing with regards to the dinners and the hunting is many people know an individual by the name of Robert Graves. Mr. Graves purchased about 1,400 acres of land across the Broad River from Habersham in Jasper County. And in 2023, I'd never hunted in my life. I don't deer hunt. I never had deer hunted. He invited me over to his land to hunt deer. I was like, I don't know anything about hunting deer. I went over there twice. The first time, I didn't even load the gun. I just sat in a tree stand, enjoyed nature. And the second time, 2 days later, somehow I lucked up and killed a doe on the property. Hunting on people's land is not a violation of anything. You know, I wouldn't, as a county administrator, I wouldn't be able to go to anybody's private dock in the county and fish off of it or do anything like that. So, you know, that's not a violation of anything. And Mr. Graves was not doing anything in the county at the time.
Right.
He had already been approved and all of his stuff was underway.
Now, this process, I mean, it has, as you said earlier, it hadn't been quick by any stretch. And I was kind of thinking about this while I had said, you know, there are many cases out there in the court system that are taking forever. But do you, you know, when you sit back and look at this entire thing, do you have any ideas, you know, why is this taking so long?
Well, there's a statute of limitations on my termination and on certain things that I can bring legal claims for, which happens to be for public official around 2 years. So it just so happens that, you know, the ethics issue gets over with 2 years after it starts, and the SLED situation is still ongoing. And the county did, you know, their study, did their financial report study. They got that report, and then they failed to release it to the public. So it's clear to me that there's some sort of slow walk, or there's some sort of cover up, in my opinion, going on to try to keep the truth from coming out. Again, as I've said all along, if I've done anything wrong, no doubt I've probably made mistakes, but to blame me for buying office snacks on camera in a public meeting is completely false. I never bought office snacks. However, the clerk, the council, and the county council office buys plenty of snacks to use at meetings.
Mhm.
Many of those snacks walk out the door
Mhm.
in council members' pockets on the way home to their grandkids and little ones at the house. So Eric Greenway, to my knowledge, never authorized the purchase of office snacks.
So, that begs the question, then why the sudden dismissal? I mean, that was shotgun, boom, gone.
Yeah.
Wow.
Well, so two things I think is one, I think the withdrawal from Miss Morgan helped with her knowing that she might have to testify with her knowledge of these situations and that there was nothing there for her to testify in favor of. And secondly, just the timing of everything. Again, the ethics issues could have been over with in a matter of weeks. For whatever reason, the State Ethics Commission didn't see fit to close those out and say, hey, there's nothing here. But, the withdrawal, I would have rather personally for the Ethics Commission to say, hey, there's nothing here. But the fact that they withdrew it and allowed it to be withdrawn tells me that there was nothing there to begin with, because even if she had requested to withdraw it and the Ethics Commission had thought there was something there, they would not have allowed the withdrawal.
Do you think it was the Ethics Commission or maybe the complainant or both had said, you know what, the juice just ain't worth the squeeze? Is that possible?
I think probably it was possible, but again, I think it's probably, I'm speculating here a lot because I don't know I haven't seen the emails that were sent, but I think it was more in lines with the person that filed the complaints was being fed erroneous information from people inside the county and could not really testify or speak to the ethics violations on her own if she were out to testify.
Now, Eric, I know at some point, SLED got involved, South Carolina Law Enforcement Division.
Mm-hmm.
They either were involved or are still involved in the other investigation. Are they still, doing their thing? Is SLED still active, or have they, come to you and said, "Hey, we're done"?
As far as I know, it's still going on, and that's the trouble with this whole 2-year ordeal with the ethics and the SLED and the county council termination and all. Mm-hmm. The county council never came to me and said, hey, let's sit down and try to talk about what happened here, the mistakes that we feel you made or anything like that. They were listening to all these, inside stories from people and I never was given an opportunity to mount a defense or answer any questions from the county council. Still haven't been given that opportunity. They go out and spend a bunch of money to have some sort of financial study done and then again, no one reached out to me to say, hey, can you explain these purchases that you authorized to us so that we can put this in our report? I didn't get the opportunity to respond to that. SLED has never contacted me. And the Ethics Commission investigator talked to me many, many months ago. He was probably the one that gave me the most opportunity. And I just told him, hey, I don't have any interest in talking to you because you can find out everything you need to find out through the county files.
Right. So. Let me ask you, the final thing I want to ask you about is the audit. And what a joke of an audit this was, the county council had done. I'd love, I know you've talked about this. I've talked about this on air. I'd like to hear your explanation of the process, the findings. And as you said a few minutes ago, I have said dozens of times, if we can answer the question, why hasn't county council still not released the report in full?
Yeah. I'd love to know the answer to that question myself. The process that involved me in the purchasing situation is essentially every day I got several requests in my inbox through the financial software package that the county used for me to go in and approve purchases. So I was concerned about that because I had no idea what many of these things I was approving were for or how they were getting done. And it went right down to approving bullets for the purchase of bullets for the sheriff's office. So I called the purchasing director, Dave Thomas, who has by and large been left out of this whole process.
Yeah, and I've always wondered why.
Me too. And I said, hey, I'm concerned about some of these purchases. I don't know. I'm not involved in the details of these. I don't know what they're for. And he said, Eric, you don't have to worry about that. Our financial software is set up so that it can't even get to you for approval unless it's met all of our purchasing ordinances and requirements. So I said, okay, well, then I guess I'll just keep approving them. And I complained about it over and over to finance and to our legal department about having to do that, particularly for elected officials. I don't have any oversight over them, and I didn't understand why I was being asked to approve financial transaction and purchasing requirements inside their office.
You see, having been on the inside, as have you, I when it comes to what you just said, is I believe that's Dave Thomas, the purchasing director, procurement director, said, I would have to beg to differ that the system does not, in my understanding, automatically have checks and balances before it gets to the administrator. Right. In my opinion, and I was very vocal about this many, many times, the system has so many holes in it. All it takes is a stroke of a pen. The procurement office was letting contracts when only one bidder or two bidders.
Yes.
That in and of itself, is it not that's a violation of even back then, the procurement policy?
Yes. And those folks that worked with me that was in the agenda review and that were in the department head staff meetings on a regular basis, they heard me ask those questions over and over. Why are we giving $1.5 million worth of contracts to one electrical contractor in the county? Oh, well, that's the only bidder. I was like, that's the only person we can get to bid on electrical work in the county. So those were the responses from the employees. And then when things started falling apart, of course, they all want to point the finger at me and say, he's the guy that created a lax environment that allowed all of this to occur. Was I lax? Yeah, I allowed my employees to do their job, or what I thought was their job. I don't consider that to be lax, but I didn't micromanage them. I treated them as professionals. I stood in front of them many times when they were getting errors thrown at them from council, and I protected the employees when they made mistakes, and I took the blame for some of those mistakes, as I should as a leader. But this stuff of blaming me for everything that happened in the finance and procurement process is too much. It's a very big county council overreach by 2 or 3 of the council members. But since the other council members have sat on their hands in silence to allow this to occur, they're just as guilty in my mind as the people that brought and allowed this to occur.
Yeah. I mean, I couldn't agree more with that. I mean, there's been things that we have brought up, just this show. I mean, this little show, we've brought up things that we have either researched and discovered or whatever, and brought them to light. And I mean, there's not a week goes by that I don't talk to someone on county council and really pressing them hard. Yeah. And Eric, the thing. And maybe you know something about this. The thing that I find the most concerning, aside from possible malfeasance, aside from spending habits that is like a drunken sailor, aside from all that, the fact that some people on county council don't know about what's going on until someone in the media, and I'm not even really in the media, but someone like me calls me and says, hey, why is this X, Y, and Z spending millions of dollars and nobody knows about it? And they go, we don't know what you're talking about. That should not be that way.
It should not be that way. And there's two examples of this that has happened recently. One is the Jasper County animal shelter issue. How in the world the county council can enter into that agreement and basically saddle the Beaufort County taxpayers with the need or the requirement to pay for an animal shelter for Jasper County on county taxpayer-owned land that Jasper County is probably not going to have to purchase or pay the value of, astounds me. And the second thing is the fact that they're trying to proceed on with another 1 cent sales tax for transportation issue when they, have had so many problems with the bridge, so many problems getting projects done. Even pathway projects are terrible for them to try to get completed. And then they're asking the taxpayers to approve that. And the third one, I want to say one thing while I'm on here, if you don't mind. I saw something pop up from, I believe, a Miss Cobb on DeFusky Island, saying that they miss me. I miss you all too. I'm sorry what's happened to you all with the DeFusky Island ferry out there. You all deserve much better treatment and much better service than you're being given by your elected officials and by the county as a whole at this point.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with that. I have been, and I don't live on DeFusky, full disclosure. I don't live on DeFusky. I don't own property on DeFusky. I don't even vacation on DeFusky. Some people have said over the last couple of years, Eric, why do you, spend so much time, talking about this ferry and DeFusky and the problem? And my answer is simple. It's like, because it's wrong. It's wrong. These people don't. This isn't Hague Point we're talking about here. These are folks that like you and me and the plumber down the street. Not to mention some folks whose families have lived there. No kidding, for generations and millennia.
Right. Yes, that's right.
And the county just says, to them. I mean, that's bullshit.
At least the county administrator did have them back off on raising the fee for the animals, saying they couldn't do that. But I hear the service is bad. I go by that island every day on my way to the work that I have to do there. And, I look over and I just shake my head to see how pitiful that situation has become. I mean, these folks, it's 110 degrees. And all these folks have to get under is a tent with windows that don't even open. It's amazing to me. I just shake my head.
Yeah, I was. I'd like to think that maybe our show had something to do with, Mr. Moore, getting in there and saying, "Look, we're not paying $1,600 for what was it? I think I had used the example. My dogs, it would have been $1,600 for the year, which is absolutely insane. Whether you're bleeding dollar bills or if you don't have 2 nickels to rub by, that's stupid. Right. It's something else, anyway, Eric, what else can you provide to us as far as what's going on?
Nothing. I'm just thankful to have the ethics issues behind me. Again, is to live with that sort of thing hanging over you for 2 years is something that's not comfortable. I was never worried or concerned about any of it because I knew one day that it would all be over with. I'm looking forward to SLED finishing their investigation and coming up with whatever they're planning to do in that particular situation. I would like to tell the county council that, they should release the report for the public. They deserve to see it. They deserve to know what's in it. And it's not right to spend that kind of public money.
Yeah, it's not right at all. And as you may remember, I made it, and I said it on here, and I've had one council member send me a note through carrier pigeon when I said this, but I've seen the report. I have someone who got that for me, and the county needs to let that go. Now, I'm not going to be like other folks I'm going to talk about on here after a while that say they're not going to release things, and then all of a sudden they let them slip by. I'm not doing that. But you're right. The county needs to let that. And hey, for those whose fingers are going to get smacked because they were in the cookie jar, take it like a man, as they say, and move on. Admit mistakes and just move on. But this pushing it under the rug, no wonder, Eric, that the public trust in local government is at an all-time low.
It is. I think that there's really a void right now in the low country of South Carolina of local government leadership as a whole. In a couple of counties and in several municipalities here in our region, there is a leadership void here. People just sit silent and let injustices and inappropriate things pass by underneath their nose and eyes, and they don't stand up for what's right. And that's got to change. So.
Eric, I appreciate you coming on here. You're always welcome. Big supporter of the show. I appreciate that. Coming on here to talk, shed some light on things, clear your name through the ethics, whatever they're called, ethics probes.
Yeah.
Being done. That's great. And man, I really appreciate you being a part of the show.
Thank you, Mike. Appreciate it. Take care.
All right.
Wickedness and filth this world has to offer.
Rock music that shatters your bones. Big Patriot Radio.
That's some serious rock.
And you're responsible.
And again, I want to thank Eric Greenway, former county administrator here in Beaufort County, for coming on. All right. So now put your seatbelt on because we're about to go on a ride. Wasn't there a record about that, like Starship or something back in the 70s? I'm thinking, I'm having a flashback here from the 70s. Gosh, I can't remember. Anyway, don't forget, skipsdefuskytees.us, big supporter of the show. Go check them out. Get yourself some t-shirts, some Americana t-shirts, skipsdefuskytees.us. One of the major stories we've done this year has been about the Beaufort County Economic Development Corporation and their organization, their hierarchy, their spending habits, their vision, their mission, etc. Part 3 is tonight, and we're going to go back and circle in one of the grants that they gave out. This grant happens to tie in a lot of the thing. It's the pictorial of what we've seen in other places, but this grant, by and large, does paint the picture. But first, today, in fact, it was released by a local newspaper that the BCEDC, I'm going to say that instead of the whole title of the corporation because it's faster. The BCEDC is now going to have to show where and how some of the money has been spent. Now, this that I'm getting ready to tell you, that I have told you and that I'm getting ready to tell you, is all public information. It's all public knowledge. This isn't anything that's my opinion. This is public knowledge. You can FOIA it. Matter of fact, you can email me and I'll email it to you. You know what I have. There's no secret. This is public information. We are just providing you with this public information. Same thing with the ethics, whatever they were, ethics accusations. That is public knowledge. Okay. Anyway, they're going to have to show where and how the money has been spent, and for the first time, they're going to have to share it with the county's leaders, administration, county council, and you and me, the taxpayer. They're the ones footing the bill for all this. It is tax dollars. That's the key thing. People seem to forget. It's tax money. It's not the government's money. Well, who paid for it? The government. No, they didn't. You did. This will be an audit. The first audit. So the BCEDC, this group was started back in 2017, into 2016, 2017. I was there when we began, we birthed the BCEDC. We began the corporation, and it has never been audited since. Most people, yours truly, did not know that almost 10 years, 8 years, 9 years to the fact, it's never been audited. Don't forget, we want to hear from you, chat. Let us know. So the BC EDC gets 98% of its funding, according to their own executive director, from Beaufort County. The rest comes from the municipalities of Bluffton, Hilton Head, Beaufort, and Port Royal. Earlier this year, Port Royal was the first municipality to come forward and decline to pay their annual stipend or dues, as they felt it was no benefit to them. The county also withdrew funding to the tune of $3.5 million, down to about $900,000 this year. The executive director, John O'Toole, and the county's CFO have said that funding decrease is largely or is due to a large project that fell through. Now, while two county council members that I spoke with over the last couple of weeks said that it's because there are so many questions about what the corporation really does and how they do it, and the lack of perceived oversight of the board of directors. That's the real reason why they're not getting the funds. So we're being told. This is a big picture, and I'm going to paint this picture for you. This same information that I'm going to share was shared this afternoon at about 4:30 with the board of directors, the county council, local media, and to the executive director himself. Everything's above board. This is public knowledge. I've shared it with the public, the public that, in this particular circle. It's out there. And if you want to see it, you're more than welcome to see it. This was sent to them in a letter format with backup documentation. And thank you to all those folks who help research and identify these situations. Back in January 2025, just a few, 8 months ago, I submitted FOIA documents for the first time regarding, amongst other things, the BC EDC's grant of $75,000 to a group known as Blackwoody in Bluffton, spearheaded by town councilwoman Bridget Frazier. That is a new nonprofit listed under the Watterson Brands. That is the financial partner of Ms. Frazier and her business interests, and also a recipient of grants. Get yourself a whiteboard or some cardboard and start writing these things down. See where all these people and places move. $75,000 to Blackwoody, spearheaded under the auspice of Bridget Frazier, town councilwoman, and the financial partner under the Watterson Brands, who is the financial partner of Ms. Frazier. And they are also a recipient of grants. Of ongoing concern is the inconsistency in the documentation I received from the BC EDC, that's FOIA, thus far regarding the said grant, that's $75,000. Now remember, ladies and gentlemen, 100% to the penny of the funds we're going to talk about today do not belong to Blackwoody. They don't belong to Ms. Frazier. They don't belong to Watterson Brands. They belong to anyone and everyone who pays taxes inside of Beaufort County, including those mentioned, but everyone. The December 19th, 2022 grant agreement between the BC EDC and Blackwoody states that during the grant period, Blackwoody was to proceed with the mentorship of 25 individuals in the Blackwoody and BEU, which is Black Equity University, I believe, programs and cohorts. It was the contract, or it was rather in the contract for the 25 individuals. Remember these numbers. These numbers don't lie. 25, key number. 25 individuals had to go through this cohort. Also in the contract was an amount of 25%. Another important number. 25% of the 25 or more have to be focused on making a product from raw goods into a finished product. Okay, 25% or more of the 25 or more have to turn raw materials into a finished good. In a January 2024 letter, the executive director of Blackwoody, Ms. Gwen Chambers, said in writing, quote, "Since receiving the funding, we have been able to extend our services to an additional 18 students, bringing the total number of students to 29 who have successfully graduated as of fall 2023. Now, I have explained to the BCEDC director, Mr. John O'Toole, that I am hopeful he surely understands that the contract he produced did not extend to include Black Equity University graduates prior to December 2022. These numbers matter. In fact, the only reference to this agreement regarding past participants stated, quote, Blackwoody will also be required to work with the BCEDC on an economic impact study using data from their first 2 cohorts. Remember, all these numbers. And 1 + 1 objectively, not subjectively, really does equal 2. June 1st, 2024. That was the agreed upon deadline for the Blackwoody Group to provide data from those first 2 cohorts. They failed to do this and were delinquent, albeit neither the executive director nor the board of directors offered any oversight into this. It is only this outlet that has brought this inadequacy to light. Subsequently, and only after repeated questions about their expenditures, did Blackwoody produce a spreadsheet of data supposedly collected from 18 prior graduates of BEU. Turning the page, we're going to go to February 26, 2025. John O'Toole writes a letter to Blackwoody that says the following, and I quote, "In accordance with the terms of the grant agreement, the company has," that's Blackwoody, "has exceeded their performance obligation of mentoring 25 individuals through the cohort program and the expectation that 25% or better of the individuals to complete the program having been focused on making a product." He went on then to say, quote, "Throughout the grant period, the company mentored 31 individuals with over 50% being focused on making a product." Wow, John. Let's keep going. Remember the numbers. The numbers don't lie. People do, numbers don't. Folks, I'm about to show you irrefutable evidence that this is an outright false claim. If there's ever been a false claim in the history of ever, this is one. I asked Mr. O'Toole on June 23rd, 2025, for copies or a list of the 29 individuals who, pursuant to the January 24th, 2024 Blackwoody letter, graduated from Black Equity University during the grant allocation period. Mr. O'Toole replied, quote, "BCEDC does not possess a list of the 29, now it's 29, individuals referenced. As a part of the agreement, BCEDC does not require Blackwoody to disclose personally identifiable information about program participants." He says Blackwoody retains discretion over how it reports participants' data, and BCEDC respects the confidentiality of that information managed, blah, 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 end quote. It's a word salad of cover your ass. But wait, it actually gets better than that. On April 10th, 2023, in an email from Blackwoody to both O'Toole and former employee Charlie Stone, Ms. Chambers, the director of the Blackwoody, provided in writing the names of the individuals and business type involved in the spring cohort. This is really gets interesting. Sit down with a glass of wine and take this in. Ms. Chambers sent this. She provided the names and the type of businesses of individuals in the spring 2023 cohort, which totaled seven people. Of the seven, we determined that only one could even possibly make a finished product out of raw materials, and that was soaps, body butter, scrubs, and lotions. The rest were a photographer, a community activist, I think a hairdresser, stuff that they didn't make anything. It was a service, don't get me wrong, but they didn't make anything. But this one did. So 7 people, one making a product. Then in January 4, 2024, a Facebook post by the South Carolina Association for Community Economic Development, it's a Facebook post, they profiled BEU's Black Equity University's fall 2023 graduation, saying, and I quote from their website, or their Facebook post, join us in congratulating the fall 2023 BEU graduates. They listed them by name, and they totaled 9. That brings the total to 16. You with me? That brings the total to 16. Of the 9, 2, and that would be stretching it extremely, 2, we could stretch it to say that they made a product out of raw materials. They probably didn't, but I'll give them 2. Anyway, now, that would be 3. Give them 2, they had 1. We're going to say they had 3. Now, I can only assume that the BCEDC is considering Black Equity University's Facebook post of June 14th, 2024, of its graduates of BEU as part of the grand total, because we're only at, what was I at? 7 and 9. So I'm 16. So we're not even anywhere near the minimum. So I'm going to say maybe they went outside of the scope, the line, the date lines, and they're going to put the June 2024 graduates, they're going to put them in this too. Okay. Blackwoody themselves promoted this on their Facebook page, saying, quote, congratulations to our BEU spring 2024 graduates. And they listed 5. However, of the 5, 1 was a repeat from the previous. So that gives you a score of 4. The running total now, ladies and gentlemen, is 20, not 25, not 29, and certainly not 31. Of those 4 from June, not 1 is a business making product from any raw materials. That just leaves us with 3, just 3. That's that 3, and I gave you 2 that did that. Not 25%, certainly not 50%, but with 2 mulligans, it's like 15%. So now let's put a bow on this, as it's straight up 8 o'clock here on Beaufort County's House of Cards. Here is the conclusion. My conclusion is that the BCEDC nor Blackwoody has provided accurate information as to the metrics having been met or not. According to my data provided by them, the contractual requirements have not been met. Yet the board of directors of the BCEDC has continued to vote unanimously in favor of continuing the grant well past its delinquency, as well as releasing the grant responsibility from the applicant. To simplify this, Blackwoody has not met the criteria for the funding and especially not the release of responsibility. Therefore, it can only be surmised that this may be or possibly be a serious abuse of public tax money. Now, the overall conclusion in this exercise is not, absolutely not in alignment with the BC EDC vision, goals, and so forth. I was there when they created them, and this is not part of that goal of vision or mission. When O'Toole was hired, when all that happened. Furthermore, this type of grant has nothing, zero, to do with economic development. The focus of the Beaufort County Economic Development Corporation, to begin with, is economic development. It's in the name. What this is this type of business is economic growth. I've had shows on this, and it's amazing the amount of people that don't know the difference between economic growth and economic development. That is not what the BC EDC was created for. Also, and this goes without saying, I am 200+% confident that Mr. O'Toole and the esteemed members of the board of directors know very well they're not dumb, they're not stupid, they're not morons. They didn't pick them up under a bridge and 2 rocks. They know very well that it is controversial for public tax dollars to be used to benefit one group while excluding all others. That is a slippery slope. By doing what I have explained today, has the BC EDC and its board opened the door now to allegations that the organization is discriminatory in its process? What are you saying, you may ask? I'm glad you did ask, because in the Blackwoody Agreement, it states, and I quote, "The funding of Blackwoody will provide an extension of the Economic Development Corporation's coverage in enhancing the economic and educational progress of the Black community by eliminating inequities, providing mentorship, and strengthening the economy through Black business ownership." Quote, end quote. Pause, rewind me, listen to it again, because this perplexes me. This really does. This perplexes me. Now, many of you, there's people from all over the place watching and listening to this, all over the country. Many of you know me, some don't. I don't have a racist bone in my body. Matter of fact, I have quite possibly an equal number of Black and brown friends as I do white friends or Asian or Hispanic. But that statement that perplexes me, I have to ask, what about Hispanic economic and educational progress? What about Asian economic and educational progress? What about Caucasian economic and educational progress? What about disabled veterans' economic and educational progress? What say you? I mean, what about everybody else? I mean, you did say in your statement about eliminating inequities. Well, here you go. You have instigated inequities. You see, what the BCEDC is today is not what was envisioned. As a matter of fact, not only with this example and case studies, but in general, there is no longer a suitable need, in my opinion, for the Beaufort County Economic Development Corporation. If this is the type of platform that they are going to have, there is one already in existence in the Don Ryan Center for Innovation. If that's what they're going to do, if they're going to merge and morph into economic growth, that's stores, air conditioning companies, gas stations, retail, candy shops, grocery store, that's economic growth. Economic development is server, IT companies, industry, manufacturing, all that kind of, that's economic. The people in Beaufort that build the train cars, Geismar, that is economic development. This is not. For these folks, the photographers, the community activists, the cosmetologists, the whatever, Don Ryan Center for Innovation, whom the county and all these municipalities already fund, is perfect. They've been perfect for that. They do a great job. Beaufort County Economic Development Corporation, ladies and gentlemen, needs to be closed and it needs to be shut down. Beaufort County does not need to spend lavishly on world travel, meals, vacation, etc. to lure business here. They're already coming. Last time I checked, we didn't even need to advertise to get people to come here. They're here, and they come every week between 10 and 2 on Saturdays. 278 to Hilton Head is a wreck, and it's actually not 10 and 2 anymore. It's more like 9 and 4. We don't need industry. No one wants any industry here. And there's not even any more land unless you're in northern Beaufort County. And I don't know if they even want industry. Let's save the taxpayers. This is my advice. Let's save the taxpayers a shit ton of cash and end this now turned fiasco.
Everything that rocks is right here. Right here.
Let's rock.
With Big Patriot Radio.
That's what I'm talking about.
All right, we're coming out of turn 4. It's 8:10 on Thursday night. Finally, the city of Beaufort has been in the news. We talked about this a week or so ago. Quite frankly, the city of Beaufort, they effed up. They plain and simple, they effed up. They know they did. We all know they did. I reached out to a city council member who I'm very close with, and I could tell by his response to my question that this is not a good conversation, and he ended up not even having the conversation to what I was asking. So what happened? Well, the Hollis family sent in a FOIA for some documentation on the case surrounding their daughter, 12-year-old daughter, from earlier this year. What they received, though, was 9,000 pages of unredacted documentation, not only about their daughter's case, but also other people's cases. They got sent stuff like payroll, people in the community's addresses, maybe cases they had, information, social security numbers, all kind emails out of the whizwank. 9,000 pages of Beaufort, the city of Beaufort, screwing up. Is this a bad thing to do? You are damn right. You are damn right. That's bad. That is really, really bad. So what do you do with this? There are people out there I have watched, haven't really said much, but I've watched them that are calling for everyone in the city of Beaufort for their head to go on a pitchfork. Folks, if your information was released, here's, instead of blowing up social media and saying things that you'll probably most likely regret one day, and instead of doing that and sounding like a complete fool, you should contact a lawyer and let them handle it. Let them handle it. The city's attorney or attorneys should be the one, along with the city manager and the assistant manager and the police chief. They should all be handling this in the legal way. Now, I know some are going to say, well, the city's come out and said they're going to investigate it through the city manager's office. That's the chicken guarding the hen house. You're right. You're right. I don't disagree. Let your attorney handle that. Don't you handle it. Let somebody who understands the legal system, let them go after them with every ounce of fiber and have at it. Nothing is going to happen overnight, but if you go through the process and the system, this can be solved. If your information got released, and I I feel bad for you. I know if mine was, I don't know what I would do, to be honest with you, other than contacting a lawyer. But taking it on your own is not advisable. Does it suck? With a capital S. In the history of suck, it's the worst. It's horrible. You feel violated. I understand. Let your attorney handle it. Well, I didn't think about getting an attorney. Well, then you need to go get one. I'm telling you, if you ever listen to anything, go get your attorney if you were involved in having information released. Now, when this happened, the Hollises came out and said they would not be releasing any of the information for the sake of other people. I admire that. I think that's very proper, Don't do what the city of Beaufort did. And somehow that was short-lived because some of the documents have turned up on different platforms, some on X, some on TikTok. The Low Country Whisperer on TikTok has had some many things of this. I am not saying that he released them. Not at all. I have no idea, nor do I care. I am saying someone did. He was adamant that they were not going to do it, but someone did after they said they weren't going to be. I'm just saying. Take that as you want. Take it as you will. I'm just saying. The documents are out there. And that, if you're listening and you did that, that was wrong. That is as wrong as what the city of Beaufort did, and I offer them no excuse. As whoever did it, you have no excuse for releasing that documentation. Well, thank you. Thank you very much. All right, tune in next week, ladies and gentlemen. Be sure to tell your friends and neighbors, 7 p.m. right here on Thursday night on Facebook, YouTube, and simulcasting on BigPatriotRadio.com. Don't forget to visit skipsthehuskytees.us. That's skipsthehuskytees.us. Get yourself a t-shirt. They're made in America. Don't forget to like and share this stream, these channels. Give us a like and subscribe. Tell your friends about it. Also, we're trying to get 4,000 stars on Facebook every week. So be sure to tune in and on Facebook and get those. If you're on YouTube, be sure to like and share the channel. Thank you again to Eric Greenway for coming on. And I also want to thank again, all the folks, specific ones that help with the research on the BCEDC coverage. All right, that's going to be it for this week. We will be back again next week, Thursday, 7 o'clock. Until then, ladies and gentlemen, be safe and watch your six.